as well as that, have you got any tips for people who are, you know, suffering from OCD, depression, anxiety, particularly during this lockdown? Have you got any more sort of tips that we can go?
Decatastrophizing. That is the one thing I would say as an immediate help. Decatastrophizing. All right, look, be specific, because anxiety, so OCD and health anxiety is anxiety driven, and anxiety is like the abyss. It's like the black hole, just sucks you in. There is no clear way of understanding it. But then you've got to be able to say, life doesn't work that way. Life is very clear. It has lines. We know what happens when we walk in the rain with no coat. We understand what happens when we have a drink when we're thirsty. So when we start being ambiguous with our thoughts, we recognize that we're flying into nothing. It becomes all too much. So you've got to get down to the specifics. Be very specific about what it is you're worried about. Okay. I experienced my very first panic attack about 2 weeks ago, right? And it was the news. And it was sitting here in my favorite chair, the recliner. My husband was working nights that week, and he had gone to work. And I'd fallen asleep, and I have a Fitbit on. And as I'd fallen asleep this is going to sound so sad, I was watching Columbo, because I love Columbo. And I was falling asleep.
Classic, mate, classic.
I love Columbo and Murder, She Wrote. And I fell asleep. And then I woke up, and I felt this sudden, just this dread and this pressure on my chest. My throat was just felt so tight, and my heart was beating. So I looked at my watch to see what the time was, and my heart rate had gone from 53 up to 120. And I thought, Jesus Christ, I'm going to die. I'm actually going to die. I thought, right, if I'm going to die, right, and an ambulance comes, I need to tidy up. And then I thought, right, let me make sure the bathroom's all right. I'm going to have to go and die outside because my husband's not here. So I'm going to knock on the neighbour's door and I'll die. But at least I'll be people can find me because he's gone to work. No one's going to find me. He'll be dead till the morning, you know. And I'm having all these thoughts and my heart's beating and I'm faint. And then I've gone outside. I've got call 111. And 111 said, oh, because I'm asthma sufferer. And they went, oh no, we're going to send down an ambulance. Ambulance came in like 5 minutes. They were so chilled, right? They came in and they walked into my home and I thought, I've had a panic attack.
Oh my word.
And then they came in and she looked at me. She went, do you know how many panic attacks we've had? She went, don't worry, love. She said, don't worry. She said, don't worry. She checked with me. She goes, it's higher, but I said, I treat panic attacks. I said, so she went, can I use your bathroom? I went, thank God I cleaned it. And then I sat down and I realised I'd retraced my steps. I thought, what was it? Well, I'd fallen asleep and that bloody shelter advert had come on and the news had kicked in as well. You know that shelter advert where the guy, he looks in the camera with that face and he says, a nurse has been evicted because her landlord thought she had coronavirus. And we're trying to make sure that people are housed. And he has this really serious voice and he has these eyes and he was stressing me out. And in my sleep, the advert was coming on because they were playing this advert quite a lot. At one stage they stopped because I was actually about to write them this very strong letter and it had stopped and I'd realized I'd bought into all of the stress of the news. Then when you watch the news, notice they do this. Oh my God, they keeping the score like it's a score, like what the hell are they doing? So they got this whole scoring thing like you're watching a match or something. It's weird. And then they are telling you all of this scary stuff, and then they say, after they say, yes, people are dying, stay at home, blah, blah, but wash your hands and stay at home and be safe.
No me corona! Oh no, please! Keine so voller Sabun, sie atmen, Donna!
Everything's gonna be fine. Calm down. It's like, what? You realise what is happening. So then I just said, no more news, because that panic attack was the most scariest event I've ever had. I've never experienced that. So I got to feel what my clients feel. We came out of the blue, and that made me recognize we're only human. We're all susceptible. And when you recognize that we're all susceptible, we're only human, you bring yourself back into now. So I found myself watching my anxiety, how to manage anxiety and panic attack video, and recognizing, okay, yeah, let me just focus on something here when it happens again. And actually using the video myself, because it's about recognizing now.
Nice. Okay, so what are your top tips for people that haven't seen the video? We'll post it again on our Man Up page. But what are your top tips? What were your top tips?
Get into the moment of now. Okay, so I would use the magic tea or magic water, the magic drink. Yeah, I call it the magic drink.
Red bush tea.
Red bush tea.
Gin.
I love red bush tea. And what
Margarita.
you do is, when you feel the anxiety, you go through the motions of making the tea or making the drink. So that's like a mindfulness mindfulness trick for you to actually get into the present moment of now, right? And that allows you this moment. So you do something which is practical. So while you're making the tea, you're focusing on what you're doing. If it's a cold drink, hot drink, you take a gulp, you experience all of it. You experience every part of it. You swallow, you let the drink go. Then you move on to the next gulp. You notice how it felt. This brings you into the moment of now. So that's tip number 1. Drink slowly, eat mindfully, keep it very simple, and just notice that moment, what you're doing. Decatastrophize, okay? Be specific with the problem. And then weigh up the problem as being most likely or unlikely. And then question yourself, can you deal with it? Because then you've got to say, if I did have coronavirus, could I deal with it? Yes, it would mean staying at home and eating properly and making sure I have what I need. Can you deal with it? Yes, you can. Yeah. And then look at the right now, get back into the moment of now. So you decatastrophize, you be specific, look at how likely or unlikely it is, and question yourself, could you deal with it? And could you recover? Most likely, yes. Do you see what I mean? So you keep it simple and you keep it now. Everything now. Don't worry about what it's going to do tomorrow. Keep right this present moment. Because when I had that anxiety attack, the panic attack, because a panic attack and anxiety attacks are different. Anxiety is when you're worrying about a specific thing and it gets all on top. A panic attack comes out of nowhere. You didn't see it coming. It just grabs you. And what I noticed was I kept on worrying about the next thing. I mean, I'll tell you what was so funny. My husband came back, right? And the toilet, which is so hilarious. So he always gets things in bulk. Ever since we've been married, we will have like, you know, pasta to last us 6 months. I'll be like, why, babe? But it makes sense. And one of the things he always makes sure we never run out of is toilet roll, right? Which is just hilarious. And I tease him and say, oh, what are you doing with all this toilet roll? And he does it. He buys toilet roll like twice a year, goes to Costco. And we've never run out of toilet roll. Never. And after that panic attack, I said words I never thought I would ever say. I turned to my husband and went, oh my God, have we got enough toilet roll? And I realized I had bought into the stress. And when you recognize you can buy into this, and he looked at me, and he's a proper Rasta Jamaican, and he said, stop, chat your foolishness, toilet roll. And I thought, why the hell did I mention toilet roll? Well, then you look at what we've been listening to on the news. It's been, you know, all of this stuff. I never mentioned toilet roll. I haven't bought toilet roll in the 5 years we've been married. Don't even know what it's like to purchase toilet roll, because this is something that he always makes sure we have. We always have toilet roll and we always have disinfectant. He must have seen this coming. I haven't had to get any of that stuff. Yeah, I started panicking. So you realize you've got to buy into it. So it's what you're paying attention to, and recognize that your attention is valuable. It's expensive.
That's really good. Yeah, that's a really good action plan, I guess. You know, just really, yeah, your attention is valuable. That's the thing I'm going to really remember from this. That's a really good one. I really like that.
You recognize that it's what you pay attention. Whatever you've ever laid awake at night thinking about, your attention.
Yeah. I've had really bad panic attacks before where I've ended up in hospital, and they do come out of the blue, and they do and there is no logic. Your brain, your logic just goes completely out the window. You know, you just think the most ridiculous things. You know, and I think the important thing is if someone's going to have a panic attack, and you know, there are people that are definitely going to have panic attacks, you know, during this outbreak, is not to let it sort of have too much of a ripple in your life, because what happened with me when I first had it 1 year ago, that set me off for a long time thinking about my mental health. But really, it's just you just look at it as a blip, and you know, adrenaline and cortisol or whatever, a real sort of spike in that sort of physically and mentally. And something that's it's just your body telling you, whoa, you know, just calm down. I'm not having this, and your mind as well. But you know, and I think if you can accept it as something that's not going to change you forever, and is something that you know, a lot of people get, that's quite common, then it won't have so much of an effect on you, like sort of later down the line, you know. And like the way you dealt with it was great. You know, you just looked at your own videos, you laughed it off, you took your own advice, and you know,
Well,
you're back to normal.
It was really dramatic at the time. And one of the things I say is the worst thing somebody can say to you when you've got a panic attack is calm down.
Yeah.
Because you're in a panic. You think this is real. You know, this shit's happening. You know, I'm going to die. I need to clean the house. The ambulance is going to come. You know, and you start realizing this is, you know, I'm in a state of shock here. So the tip for that is get to one place in your body that is not your chest or your head. Go to your feet. Take your attention to your feet. And this is how I deal with it. All right. So if I do ever, so after that panic attack, I did have little moments where it was trying to come back. And this is what I would do. So I'd go to my feet, focus all my attention on my feet, wiggle my toes, clench and release, and just notice the difference.
Hold. Exhale and release. And study what that feels like.
This is progressive muscle relaxation. And just notice the difference. And once you start noticing the difference of your feet clenching and releasing, you move up to your ankles and your legs. And all of a sudden, all of this chest pain, all of this pressure has gone. Yeah. You've controlled it. And when you recognize that you can control it, you're in charge of the panic attack. Because the problem with the panic attack isn't that it's the panic attack, it's so terrible. It's the fact that you cannot stand it. And it feels like the absolute end of the world. It is awful.
You're going to die.
You're going to die.
Like, that's what a panic attack is.
That is it. You know? You're going, because I've said, when I looked on my Fitbit and it went up and I said 120, I'm going to die. My heart is going to pound out of my chest. The end. Let me tidy up.
I bet you, Tommy. I bet you, Tommy. You were clenching your feet when she was saying it. Then, weren't you?
I absolutely. 100%
I was as well.
Was clenching my feet.
Did you notice it? You clench them and release them. You clench them, and then just notice that. Just notice that simple feeling of just doing that. Takes you out of this up here and here. Takes you to your attention.
But you know what? I've never ever heard anyone use that, or no one's ever said that since we've been doing the podcast. No one's actually given us that technique to deal with a panic attack or anything, have they? So that's actually new to me.
We're learning loads. We're learning loads today. There is lunch. I'm just thinking about my lunch. It's like, I feel like we haven't even scraped the surface yet, have we?
Not even.
Well, look, this is a good thing. This is a good thing because we're doing mini casts at the moment. So we'd love to have you on and to sort of like come and do a few Q&As with some of our listeners, which would be absolutely amazing. So I hope you're going to say yes to this.
Of course I'm going to say yes, Tommy.
Legend.
Yay!
Yes.
Get yourself a USB mic. All it is just a mic that plugs with a lead in, plugs straight into your computer. You don't need a sound card, and that's it. And you're ready to go. And you can get them for about 70 quid or something like that. A really good quality one.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to get myself a USB mic.
Yeah.
Oh, but I've got an Apple, the Pro thing with the funny in bits.
Desiree, don't make your problem our problem, okay? Guys, this has been amazing. This has been brilliant. I've really enjoyed this.
This has been good. This has been good. So what we're going to do, we'll do another one at some point, and we'll just keep them coming.
Okay. So before we go, Desiree, if you had to mental health for the rainbow puppets, Zippy, Bungle, and George.
If I had to mental health them, I would say, okay, Bungle was definitely like a closet gay, right? And he was really trying to keep it within himself as much as he could. Zippy, he was, though, wasn't he? He was, bless him. He was a little bit like, but he didn't know how to deal with it. Zippy was definitely anxious about the future, and a bit angry as well. And what was the other one?
George
was having a secret affair with Bungle, but didn't want anybody else to know.
Oh, George was sweet. George was just a sensitive guy.
He was very sensitive, and but him and Bungle's relationship, you could he was always go, oh no, Bungle, and Zippy was and then,
see, I think Zippy was definitely depressed, and he was sort of quite aggressive, wasn't he?
He was aggressive. He was very anxious.
Oh, go out, get out of the way.
Yes, he was.
George, I think, had anxiety problems. He was a sensitive guy.
Which one was George? Was George the hippo?
The hippo, yeah.
He was anxious.
Yeah,
definitely.
And then Bungle, I think he had he definitely had some sort of PTSD or something.
I'd say he's on the spectrum.
Yes.
I'd say he's on the spectrum. Yeah.
You think Bungle was on the spectrum?
Yeah.
And what about Jeffrey? What about him?
He was dodgy as hell, wasn't he?
Let's not go there. Let's not ruin our childhoods, all right? But there is one sketch I'll have
This
to
is
send
gonna
you
mess
guys
up.
of the rainbow thing, and it's like they did. I think it's for like a charity thing, but it's all like very like innuendo filled.
Yeah,
and it's really funny. If you've not seen it, I'll try and send it to you guys.
Please send it, because I always thought that they were dodgy. I thought it was a bit weird.
Well, this will fully sort of fuel that.
But there was a lot of children's movies that were a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Remember the Moomins?
It was a different time.
The Moomins were high as kite. They were all on LSD and stuff. Moomins.
Yeah, and Magic Roundabout.
Magic Roundabout, Andy.
With
yes.
Zebedee. You can only be high with a name like Zebedee.
Yeah. So does that make us Rod, Jane, and Freddie? Are we like the new? Are we the new Rod, Jane, and Freddie?
We are Rod, Jane, and Freddie.
All right. So next Zoom meeting, everyone in Lycra and some windows.
Bye. Yes, it's time for us all to go now, I'm afraid. But this time we're going to go very, very quickly. Goodbye. 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 Bye. Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Enjoy your weekend, guys.
This is the third goodbye we're doing now. I think how many more goodbyes?
We have a problem with attachment theory, don't we? We don't want to leave each other.
It took so long to get here.
I know, and now we are. All right, we'll go. See you later, my lovelies.
Bye-bye.
It's been brilliant to see you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
High blood pressure can result. Breathing, always feeling short of breath, maybe lightheaded. It can maybe increase in feelings of panic, anxiety.
Stress attacks the adrenals, causing the body to flood with cortisol and adrenaline. Over time, this can cause health concerns like high blood pressure, gut issues, even migraines.
In 2015, there was a study that found 77% of all of our health issues are due to stress.
Which is why health experts say it's important to address your stress and find helpful coping skills to overcome it.
Some coping skills.
You can do this anywhere, even if you're in a meeting or stuck in traffic. So give it a try right now. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it for a second or two. Now exhale through your mouth. Repeat until you feel your heart rate returning to normal and your muscles relaxing. Tighten your muscles, then relax them. When stress causes your shoulders to tense and your brow to furrow, take a few moments to focus on relaxing your entire body. Starting from your head and working toward your toes, tighten each muscle group for a few seconds. Then release and move on to the next group of muscles until your entire body is at ease. Clear your mind. Some might call it meditating. Others might call it taking 5. No matter what you call it, the goal is the same: to rid yourself of stressful thoughts and anxiety. First, find a quiet spot where you can either sit or lay down. Next, close your eyes and focus on a peaceful image. It can be a favorite vacation spot, a favorite painting, anything you find calming. Spend a few minutes concentrating on that image and nothing else. Mix and match these techniques to find the stress solution that works for you.